Begin log, Selene Shepherd 5. So now I was as powerful as Saren. I only answered to the council, and if I choose not to listen to anyone else, then they couldn't stop me. I now knew how it felt to be Maria Vanderhaaf. You would think that I would simply jump on the fastest ship off the Citadel and make Saren fit into a small box, but my curiosity became piqued by hearing about someone known as the Asari consort. I mentioned I find the Asari fascinating, but this was different. By all accounts, this consort sounded like a kindred, despite how impossible it should have been, but the level of awe, control, mystery, and influence she seemed to have over everyone seemed nothing short of breathtaking. I just had to know more. Her name was Shira, according to the Asari girl at the entrance to her establishment. An enigmatic name to go with an enigmatic Asari, I thought. Apparently, the establishment was some sort of therapy-like in-house escort kind of place. The clientele I could see from the entrance seemed very happy, almost too happy. I had to keep repeating, "There are no Asari kindred," to myself, especially given the first-hand experience I already had trying to feed off of one. So how could kindred ever turn one without turning into a smurf? I did giggle at imagining Maria with blue skin, though. I asked about making an appointment with Shira and wasn't surprised to hear the waiting time was 3 to 4 months. So I asked about an appointment with any of Shira's Asari staff, which would get me in the door and closer to learning Shira's secrets. But again, I was told the waiting time was 3 to 4 months. I then realized with equal annoyance and intrigue that Shira's Asari had been conditioned to be immune to both visual and psychological influence. Feeling defeated, but vying to find another way, I turned to leave. Suddenly, I heard a voice from the back, and the Asari at the entrance, whose name was apparently Nalina, said that Shira was asking to speak to me. My curiosity level increased only further with this. The 3 of us made our way to the back, up some stairs, along a landing until we reached the door to Shira's chamber. We walked into the chamber with her facing away from us. I greeted her, and when she turned I was again glad of my failsafe, as Shira's beauty would have paralyzed any toreador who laid eyes on her. I held back some disappointment at not seeing fangs in her mouth, though I then found myself wondering if she had found other methods of feeding. Shira then surprised me by asking for my help. Apparently, a former friend of hers, a cat alien named General Septimus, had been spreading lies about her to whomever would listen, and as a result of this seemed to have genuinely offended Shira. They had clearly ended up more than friends before their falling out, and he'd overstepped the client-consort relationship. I have no idea if Shira was working some mojo on me or not, but I felt I needed to help her silence the lying cat alien. We found him, unsurprisingly drunk, spouting lies at a table in a crowded club. The amount of alcohol he had imbibed seemed to give him semi-resistance to my influence, so I appealed to his sense of honor as a general, and that by spreading his lies he was acting like a child and not a general. They seemed to hit the desired nerve, as he came to see what I was saying made sense very quickly. Before he left to mend the damage he had caused, he asked me to help him to right another wrong. Apparently, one of the lies he spread was that Shira had revealed the secrets of an Elcor named Xelton. Elcor are kind of like elephants with their trunks and ears taken off. Plus, because they don't normally communicate with speech, they explain the tone they are speaking with, which is helpful given Elcor speech is completely monotone. I found Xelton and explained to him quietly, so his fellow Elcor didn't hear, that it was truthfully General Septimus who had found out his secrets and spread them out of spite, and that Shira was innocent. Xelton expressed genuine relief, the best way Elcor can at least, and then we made our way back to Shira's place. Unsurprisingly, Shira had already heard about what we had done by the time I arrived, and she really looked like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. Her words to me showed genuine gratitude, and it felt good to have done right by her. I wondered again if she was working some kind of mojo on me. Shira then handed me a trinket, saying it would serve me well in the future. It kind of reminded me of the beacon on Eden Prime. I was all ready to leave when Shira said she also wanted to give me a gift of words, and I suddenly didn't feel like leaving. She walked close to me, put her cheek against mine, and brought her lips close to my ear. All I remember was what she said seemed right at the time, and yet I no longer remember the words. But what I do remember was her last words. I felt as if my hair suddenly stood on end and felt a pleasant shiver run down my spine. She was powerful. She moved away from me and allowed me to head towards the door. The words she had said in my mind, just one word, yes. I had a time explaining away why I was giggling as we left Shira's place. Begin log, Selene Shepard 6. Do you remember, before I mentioned the race that was left permanently infertile because of falling foul of the Turians? Well, it all began over the rebellion of a race named the Krogan. They always thought of Krogan as kind of looking like leathery reptilian land sharks. Formidable, but sad because of what was done to them. The Turians enlisted the help of the Third Council race after the Asarian them, the Solarians. Solarians all look funny to me. Black eyes, fleshy horns on top of their heads, very typical alien look, and they're like the super scientists of the galaxy. Anyway, the Solarians developed what is known as the genophage. It was supposed to simply limit the number of babies a girl Krogan could have, and the Solarians weren't sure if the genophage should even be deployed. But Turians can be very single-minded as a military when angered, and they unleashed it as a plague on the entire Krogan race. A very Jackie response, I suppose. The effect of the genophage, because of the unpredictability of Krogan pregnancy, was truly catastrophic. And now the Krogan are a dying race, trying and failing to find ways to undo the curse of the genophage. Especially given the Krogan are all warriors, and science is for other races. I don't understand why nobody will help them. The reason I feel so strongly about the Krogan's plight is I've seen the sadness they feel firsthand in the eyes of the first Krogan I've ever met, Urdnot Rex. Rex literally bumped into me after the incident with the thug Fist. Apparently Rex had been hired by the mysterious shadow broker to deal with Fist, and I had of course got in first. Our first meeting was him whispering a few words to me as he passed me. I say whispered, but Krogans have a growling, booming voice, so it was more quiet, I suppose. The second time I met Rex, he intercepted us as we were on our way to the docking bay. Anderson and Udina, the human ambassador, had told me they had found me a ship to use for my Spectre duties. Rex explained to me what had gone down between him and Fist, and I half expected him to get violent with me, until he told me he would give me the reward money he was going to get for taking down Fist. This I wasn't expecting, and I actually felt a tear in my eye. That was when I first saw the sadness behind his eyes. I had never seen sadness like it, even from Tally. I had a lump in my throat as Rex asked if he could come with us, and I just nodded in case the lump gave away the level of emotion I was feeling. I sent Caden on ahead. I then mentally said a few kind words to Rex to make sure the Toreador curse failsafe would respond to his voice, which was easier than it was with Caden. Rex really was broken inside, even for a Krogan, though I settled against hugging him. Then me, Garrus, and Rex stepped into the elevator to see what ship we'd been given. As the three of us began to ride the elevator up to the docking bay, I noticed Rex showing some understandable discomfort being in an enclosed space with a member of the race he had grown up hating, out of fear and resentment in equal measure. Rex had obviously seen many Turians during his time working for the Shadow Broker, because his expression towards Garrus seemed very practiced, as if to almost goad the young Turian into eventually fighting Rex, thus proving him right that the Thurians had always hated Krogans. I was about to turn around and give Rex a shot of kindred influence when I saw Garrus meet the Krogan's gaze. And what both Rex and myself saw in Garrus's eyes wasn't a look of contempt, or anger or hatred, but a look of remorse. Garrus quietly said, "I know I represent what you hate, Rex, but I'm personally sorry, and if I could, I would." Now, to anyone looking in on the conversation from the outside, what Garrus had said would have seemed cryptic, but both myself, and more importantly Rex, understood exactly what Garrus meant. The Krogan's hand closest to Garrus suddenly raised as if to strike Garrus, and the young Turian flinched just as the hand came to rest gently on his shoulder, accompanied by an agreeable grunt from Rex. I turned back around and I couldn't help but smile at what I had just witnessed, and maybe had a hand in bringing about. My hearing then turned to a news report that had started playing. Today, a revolutionary new treatment has been developed by Earth cybernetic Dr. Indigo to help injured Alliance soldiers. The new technique will allow those who have lost arms, legs, or sight to receive brand new cybernetic limbs and implants, enabling personnel who have literally given themselves to fight for the Alliance to lead normal lives. Dr. Indigo has also set up a fitting and maintenance clinic, and will personally be involved in implementation of our revolutionary new techniques. On behalf of the man and woman of the Alliance military, we'd like to express our thanks to Dr. Indigo and wish her much success in the future. All three of us nodded thoughtfully at hearing the report, realizing how important the news was, though I found myself thinking I had heard the name Indigo before. My rhetoric was interrupted by the ding of the elevator as it reached the dock and bay. We all stepped out of the elevator and made our way over to where Captain Anderson was waiting, quietly talking to Ambassador Udina, who was next to him. Anderson greeted me warmly as I approached the two of them. He again congratulated me on my achievements, something that Udina said he very much agreed with. I still had a feeling Udina didn't trust me. But when I looked at him, he quickly excused himself, saying he had important duties to attend to. This didn't bother me at all, so I let the silly diplomat go on his way. I turned back to see something was up with Anderson. He was hiding something from me. I opened my mouth to say something when Anderson, feeling I was analyzing him, quickly explained why we were next to the Normandy. It was because he was stepping down as captain and giving the Normandy to me. If I had breath in my lungs, it would have left me at hearing that, and I still felt lightheaded. My favorite ship in the galaxy was now my ship. I shook Anderson by the hand for what seemed like eternity, until I felt cold drops of water against my hand. At first I thought they were my tears, but then Anderson let go of my hand and turned away from me, his hand hurriedly chastising the tears that had come from his eyes. He leaned against the gantry rail and stood motionless, as if trying to will himself away from the situation. I walked next to him and spoke quietly to him out of earshot of Garrus and Rex for several minutes. At one point, after the two of them had agreed to ask what was happening, Garrus, feeling the braver, cleared his throat. Clearly he still felt intimidated by me. Good cat alien. That's one of the reasons why I like Garrus so much. Anderson had finished spilling his secrets to me, so I went over to my two escorts and filled them in. Apparently, I was almost the second human Spectre. Anderson, as a younger man, had been groomed as a possible Spectre, and Saren, the galaxy's bad kitty, had personally destroyed Anderson's Spectre dream, humiliated Anderson, and tarnished Anderson's reputation in one fell swoop. I had thanked Anderson for sharing with me, cleared his mind of worries, and made sure that Garrus and Rex thought better than just to tell the others about Anderson. That was my call to make. I dismissed them both into the Normandy ahead of me to make ready for our departure. I said my goodbye to Anderson and walked down the boarding channel towards the Normandy with only one thought in my mind. Now I knew exactly what I wanted to do to Saren when I found him.